and gentlemen, welcome to the 2021 ceremony for the admission of new graduates to the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. It's my great honour and privilege to welcome to this ceremony the President and Chief Executive of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, Dr. Mandisa Green and Lizzie Lockett, and also John Fishwick, alumnus of this university and this year's guest speaker. And of course other members of the Faculty Board of Veterinary Medicine and staff of the Veterinary School and Biological Sciences Department. This is the most significant day of the Cambridge Vet School calendar. Our mission is to deliver excellence in veterinary education and biomedical research, addressing challenges of health and welfare of animals, humans and the environment in the 21st century. But our central purpose is to educate students to become veterinarians, members of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. And we celebrate today another great group making this transition today. That's you, by the way. Right. So, I'm delighted that we're having this ceremony today. A year ago, despite our commitment to the veterinary programme, it was far from clear to me that we would be here to celebrate another great group of students graduating and being admitted to the Royal College. And this is so much better than Zoom. This ceremony represents the completion of a gruelling programme of learning by brilliant students, supported of course by the great team working here. It is a highly significant milestone in everyone's lives, and those of us working have a huge sense of pride and achievement in witnessing it. But of course it's only one milestone in your careers. Your careers will be underpinned by lifelong learning, and I'm confident that the scientific excellence of your education will equip you to deal with all of the changes and professional developments that will take place, continue through the 21st century. I'm sure also that the excellent education provided here is why so many of our graduates of you will make a huge success of your careers, within as well as outside of clinical practice. And of course we put all of that down to the excellence of our educational system, but the reality is that it's much easier to start with students as good as you were when you first started here. I've been amazed at how well staff and students alike have coped with this appalling year. You all have my gratitude. Thanks for everything that you've done. Not to have had a case of COVID brought into the clinic by students is a huge achievement, particularly given the high rates of COVID in transmission at different times of the year. And that's a testament to your commitment and outstanding professional behaviours. Normally I'd take this opportunity to celebrate with guests a lot of great achievements of the vet school during the year, but I think that we should keep the ceremony light and in particular because of our enforced reduced party size. So we're going to join with you, our graduates, in celebrating this moment. This ceremony is to mark this important moment in your lives. Although they can't be here today, do please remember to thank all of your friends and family for the help and support that they have given you over the last 6 years. This is a genuine marathon. And let us also include Katie and Sarah in our thoughts, who are having to self-isolate today. And it's great to see, I'm sure they are there. We honour you in being admitted as members of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons today, and it's taken dedication, stamina and high achievement to complete the Vet MB course and examinations. We wish you every success as you begin your careers as veterinary surgeons. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our graduation speaker, and I'm delighted that John Fishwick accepted our invitation to be here this evening. Is it this evening or this afternoon? Whatever it is. John is an alumnus of this university who's already had a distinguished career. As well as being a diplomat of the European College of Bovine Health Management, he was the first person to gain the RCVS diploma in cattle health and production. He's a former president of the British Veterinary Association, with particular responsibility for livestock diseases, antimicrobial resistance, and responsible use of medicines. He was also previously president of the British Cattle Veterinary Association and of the Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire Veterinary Association. John, over to you.
May I say, it's a huge privilege for me to be here this afternoon and joining you. And I'm very, very honoured to have been invited, so thank you. It's a fantastic achievement what you've done. You've now gained an amazing qualification from the University of Cambridge, which will serve you well throughout your careers and indeed your life. One thing I've found is that when I'm travelling around overseas, People aren't very impressed by anything I do or anything I say, but when they find out I graduated from Cambridge, they say, that's amazing. Cambridge University is held in such high regard, and amongst veterinarians all around the world, that degree, that qualification, the fact that you've graduated from here will be highly regarded, and you must never trivialise that. It's a really, really important thing. You've graduated, your entire final year of clinical teaching has been done in the pandemic, and I think that is an amazing achievement. To repeat what James has said, amazing achievement. Whatever else, we hope this will be the last year that's the case, but it will be unique that you'll be the first year that did all your clinical training under lockdown conditions. So I think tremendous congratulations to you for that, for your perseverance, and to all your faculty and staff who've worked with you to get through that. This is a time of great change, and I'm not just talking about the pandemic, which of course is a very major sudden change which came along and took us all by surprise. Before the pandemic, I think we could recognise there are some very serious changes taking place in the veterinary profession and the way animal health and disease is managed. And I think one of the things I would say is in this life, the people who survive and do well are the people who can change. So you may well come out with one idea about what you're going to do, and you may do that for some time, but you will not be doing that all your working lives. And we need to embrace that. And I think it's very important to understand that change is normal, not flitting around from one thing to another, but actually moving with the times, seeing new opportunities and changing the way we work. If we look at some of the challenges our profession faces, you'll be sick of hearing about antimicrobial resistance. But it's a very, very serious challenge we all face, and we have a major role to play in that. Lord O'Neill did a report for the British government in 2014, and he predicted that by 2050 there would be 10 million deaths a year entirely due to antimicrobial resistance. This is a problem that's going to affect us. It's not just something that we, professionally we might want to try and sort out. It's going to affect us, our families, ourselves, our offspring. They may be affected by this hideous condition, and it's absolutely vital that we play our role in this. Antimicrobial resistance is something that really fits into this concept of One Health, which again I'm sure you're sick of hearing about. This triangle where you have human health in one corner, animal health and environmental health in the other. They all interact, and antimicrobial resistance is a very fine example of that. One of the things that we are all going to need to do is think carefully about how we use antimicrobials. So that could be reducing use, which in itself is a very potent tool in trying to reduce the problem, and being careful about selection of antibiotics, avoiding the high priority CIAs. That's a really important thing. And I think when you go out into work, I'm not saying this is going to dominate your thinking, but you rapidly need to think about how you take some of those principles into account in your daily work if you're doing clinical work. What we say and do will really influence others. So if you're working for someone who says, that's a load of old nonsense, we don't worry about this here in Yeovil or whatever, well actually it's really, really important that you, by your actions and your example, you don't preach at people, but just gently move things in the right direction. And Yeovil is a very bad example to use, because there are practices in that part of the country off their own backs who've seen this is coming and have done a huge amount to change their policies on antimicrobial prescription and use. And that's really, really impressive. So particularly sort of dairy practices which are using antibiotics for mastitis, apart from anything else, they've been very, very careful about changing their policies, and that's made a real difference. Another part of this One Health concept is the relationship between humans and animals, of course. Apart from antimicrobial resistance, zoonoses. Zoonoses, a huge threat to the human race. Now, we don't know if coronavirus is a zoonosis. James would have a better idea than most of us, but I think probably there's a lot of evidence that suggests it is. And that is where these threats keep coming from. For example, we've got avian influenza, swine flu. These diseases which sort of fall under the veterinary side also can have devastating effect on humans if things migrate and things go wrong. So I think those are good examples of diseases that we will have a huge influence in treating and controlling, whether you actually formally go into policy making or working for government or NGOs, or equally importantly, if you're working in frontline practice. You really can make a big difference with these things. The other thing which I think is going to dominate the way we think, if I may suggest a few possibilities of what might be ahead, is the environment. We hear little else apart from problems with the environment. And as veterinary surgeons, we need to do two things really. Number one is we need to think about how we work in a changing environment with climate change. So for example, seasonal grazing patterns and crop growths can't necessarily be guaranteed. We may even get crop failure. I remember 2018, it was a very, very dry summer, I think it was 2018, and there was virtually no forage for cattle over the winter, and that was considered a major crisis, which was resolved. But I think what you have to remember is these challenges, although they can be a little bit scary, you are the experts who can sort it out. Your training has given you the expertise and the ability to think and problem solve and work through these problems that you can find solutions. You really, really can be the people who sort this out in your own little way, if I may put it that way, in your day-to-day jobs. You don't have to be standing up and making a huge song and dance. You just think some of these problems and work out what can we do to see through this, or see things through this. The other thing is we have an important role in reducing damage. There's a very, very good initiative called Vet Sustain, which is all about how practices reduce their waste. And that might sound a little bit aspirational, but I think these things are going to become very, very important during your career. If we look at the farming side, a lot has been done how to make farming more sustainable, and there are some farmers who say, well, that's rubbish, we're not going to change anything. A significant, dare I say, minority are actually saying, well, we have to do this, because if we don't sort these things out, we're going to run into problem and our business is going to go under. So I think what I would say is be open to these ideas, listen to what's going on. What you'll be doing when you start work is absolutely all embracing, trying to look after your clinical cases, but actually be aware of the wider picture and be aware that these things are going to influence your career down the line. I think I've almost said enough now. I think I was allowed 10 minutes, wasn't I? I've probably just gone over. But the other thing I would say is think about your well-being and the well-being of your colleagues. We hear an awful lot about mental health, to the extent that you sometimes think that everybody in the veterinary profession has some sort of mental health problem. Well, I hope it's not quite that bad, but I think one of the things we all should do is look out for ourselves and look out for our colleagues and friends. So what does that mean? I think it means when you're feeling a little bit under the weather and a bit unhappy for whatever reason, or things are not going well, it could be your personal life, it could be your professional life, likely to be both in my experience happening at the same time. Take care of yourself. Just chalk that up and saying, I'm not having a good day today, and what can I do to try and improve it? And it might be doing something you like, it might be picking up the phone to a friend. Those sorts of things are absolutely crucial. And likewise, if a colleague wants to speak to you, chat to them. You don't have to be a counsellor, but just 5 minutes of kindness or having a laugh with somebody can really help to see them or you through a very difficult period. Remember, things will go wrong. You'll have days when things go wrong and everything seems terrible. You need to know that's going to happen. It won't be the norm. And when that happens, your resilience will get you through, and your friends and hopefully your colleagues can help you through a bad patch. So I'm going to finish there. Thank you very much indeed. I think it's an amazing achievement to see you all here today, and you deserve so much praise and congratulations, and I hope you're going to have a really good future. So thank you very much.
John, thank you very much indeed for coming here to speak to our new graduates. It's at this stage now that I'm going to hand over to Dr. Mandisa Green, who's President of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, who's going to talk you through the oath and all of the complexities around that. And then Lizzie Lockett, the Chief Executive of the RCVS, will then bring out your names one by one. So I'm going to, Mandisa, now it's over to you. Is that microphone the right height?
I think so. Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me. I would like to ask you all now to stand so that you can repeat your professional declaration after me. So I'll say the first line and then you repeat after me. And Katie and Sarah at home, I hope you're unmuted and you can repeat as well. I promise and solemnly declare that I will pursue the work of my profession with integrity and accept my responsibilities to the public, my clients, the profession, and the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. And that above all, my constant endeavour will be to ensure the health and welfare of animals committed to my care. Okay, so if you'll remain standing, I will now admit you to the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons with the reply. In the name of the Council of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, and by virtue of the power conferred upon them by the Royal Charter and Act of Parliament, I do hereby admit you as members of the said Royal College, and by the same power do confer upon you the right to be styled veterinary surgeons, and to be known and deemed and recognized henceforth as duly qualified members of the veterinary profession. Congratulations. Okay, if I ask you all now to be seated, and I will invite the Chief Executive Officer of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, Ms. Lizzie Lockett, to read out the names of the new graduates. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandisa. Congratulations, everybody. Welcome to the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. I think you are most definitely the newest veterinary surgeons in the UK, possibly the newest veterinary surgeons on the planet. So well done. I'm now going to read out your names, and I understand that we'd like you to stand up while your name is read out so we can all offer you a round of applause. So I'm going to start with Lily Alger. Sarah Bate. Sarah's over there. Emily Bedborough. Honoria Brown. Mei Yen Chua. Eleanor Cockman. Sophie Compton. Alexandra Croft. Susanna De Silva. William Davies. Emily Edwards. Alice Elgar. Alexandra Emsley. Shioa Fan. Catherine Gibson. Claire Gooding. Samuel Hales. Lucy Hart. Emma Hobbs. Lauren Holmes. Rebecca Illingworth. Lily Inman Meron. Lucy Johnson. India Kader. Thomas Kearns. Catherine Kirk. Katie Kirk. Madeline Knightley. Laura Kruszewski. Victoria Kwok. Helen Lambias-Moore. Fiona MacDonald. Lydia Michaelides. Primrose Moss. Grace Moss. We got our Mosses out of order, apologies there. You think I'd know the alphabet by now. Ming Kang Ong. Catherine Phillips. Sophia Ponte. Hannah Rees. Harriet Rhodes. Catherine Roberts. Andrew Robertson. Catherine Robinson. Thomas Rowe. Joanne Ross. Fiona Shuttleworth. Jennifer Simpson. Annie Slater. Teague Smith. Michelle Spielberg. Lily Stevens. Natasha Sumana-Sakura. Melody Swires. Amelia Wainwright. Holly Ward. Anna Welch. And last but by no means least, Charlotte Williams. Many congratulations to all of you.
At this point, I'm going to ask the President of the RCVS, Dr. Mandisa Green, to come and talk to you, to give you a formal address. Mandisa, thank you very much.
So, many congratulations to all of you. I saw some of you earlier with your parents taking photos, and I know this must be a really proud moment for all of you, and it's an honor for me to be here to speak to you today. Some of what I'm going to say, John's already said, so I'm going to give the same advice that he did, but that's just to say it's really important advice. And so maybe, yeah, sometimes when we hear it more than once, it sticks, so that's good. Okay. So, if you were anything like me, when my presidency started last year around the same time that you all would have been starting final year, you kind of thought that the pandemic would have been over around about Christmas, but it wasn't. And you all managed to navigate your final year in the middle of a pandemic, as has been said. Some of you over Christmas making really difficult decisions about whether you could see your family over the holidays and keeping each other safe whilst you've been doing your final year. It hasn't been easy, and you should all be congratulated for that. I think the other thing to say is that you all are the truly only year that has done what you have done. So that should be recognized. So in a year when so much of humanity and so much of society has been forced to slow down, you have been forced to push yourselves harder. You studied all the best you could, again, keeping each other safe. And after all that you faced, if any of you have any doubts or any worries about whether you're good enough, please get rid of them. Cambridge Vet School's long and prestigious history is well known, and the training you have received here will enable you to navigate a successful career no matter what you choose to do with your veterinary degree. As for all the things you haven't had compared with the other cohorts, please know and recognize it is the context of your achievement that makes this moment, that makes you so great. You have gained resilience to face uncertainty and showed determination, dedication, and motivation, sometimes in the face of isolation. These are qualities that make you great. Your qualification is but one part of your success. The person you have become whilst trying to achieve it is the other. What I know for sure is whether this is your first or second degree, whether you've worked before or this will be your first time having a job, whether you sailed through your degree or you struggled, where we are now, this moment, is the end of your beginning. This is the moment that you step into your profession, where you are going to hopefully have a lifelong career which will be diverse, interesting, and enjoyable. So a couple tips for success. Number one, some people refer to your veterinary degree like a vet passport. I often try to think of it like getting driver's license. So the first time you get into a car on your own after you've got your driver's license, it's exciting, but also it can be scary. But you keep learning, and before you realize, you've become a confident driver. So treat your degree as your license to keep learning. Number two, the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons may feel irrelevant to you once you start your working life, but it is where a lot of the decisions about your professional career are made. So be engaged, vote, make informed choices. So you've worked hard all your years of vet school. For some of you, there has been sweat and tears, and now it's time to enjoy. So we will soon be able to raise a glass to you, but before you congratulate yourselves too much on your success, I need you to promise to me to do one thing. Phone your loved ones and say thank you. You must know the sweat and tears that go into a veterinary degree are sometimes not yours alone. The people who surround you have supported you in so many ways, and at times where I'm sure you'll agree, you've not been at your finest. So, thank them. They've all been through it with you. One bright spot to this crisis is that it reminds us to value people. This lesson comes at a pivotal time in your life, which means there's a greater chance you will hold on to it. Cherish humanity, yours and others. I end by wishing you good luck and a good life. Thank you.
Mandisa, thank you very much indeed. I think that, as you say, if there was any overlap between what you and John said, actually there's some overlap between how I wanted to round off at the end as well. So, yeah. Hopefully we've got some of that right. So at this point we come to the presentation of prizes, and I'm delighted to ask Mandisa to present the various prizes awarded to our new graduates. How are we going to do this? I'm going to hand them down to you. Yep. So first we have the Zoetis Prize in Small Animal Medicine. The prize is sponsored by Zoetis and is awarded to the candidate in the final Veterinary Examination Part 3, who obtained the highest recommendation in practical work in small animal medicine during the final year, and also obtained good marks in the final examination in small animal studies. And the winner is Lily Stevens. Yeah, Lily, I don't think you should sit down. The British Small Animal Veterinary Association Prize in Small Animal Studies is awarded to the student achieving the highest marks in the Viva of the final Vet MB Part 3 exam in Small Animal Studies, and has been won by Lily Stevens. The Robert Walker Prize in Surgery. This prize was founded by a donation from Robert Walker's many friends and admirers to commemorate his life. Robert Walker is a university lecturer in animal surgery. The prize is awarded to the candidate in the final veterinary examination Part 3, who obtained the highest recommendation in practical work in soft tissue and orthopaedic surgery during the final year, and who also obtained good marks in the final examination in small animal studies. The winner is Lily Inman-Moron. The Ron Spratlin Prize in Farm Animal Studies. This prize was founded to commemorate the life and service to the veterinary school of Mr. F.R. Spratlin, former head of the school, and is awarded to the student who received the highest recommendation in the standard of their farm animal practical work during the 5th year, and also obtained good marks in the final veterinary examination Part 2. This year the prize is awarded to Lucy Johnson. The John Hickman Prize in Equine Studies. This prize was founded by the Cambridge Veterinary School Trust to commemorate the life and service to the veterinary school of Colonel John Hickman, Emeritus Reader in Animal Surgery, and is awarded to the candidate in the final veterinary examination Part 3, who has also obtained the highest recommendation in equine practical work during the final year, and also obtained good marks in the final examination in equine studies. And this year the prize is awarded to Katie Edwards. There's more discrimination against people with W's as surnames because the people sitting at the back get a longer clap, don't they? But you have to live with that, it's right. The Morden Foundation Prize. This prize is presented by the Morden Foundation and is awarded to the student who has achieved exceptional marks in the second rotation period for farm animal medicine. This year the prize is awarded to Helen Lambias Moore. The Marks and Spencer Prize in Veterinary Public Health. This prize is awarded to students who achieve the best performance in the written and practical examinations in veterinary public health in the final examination Part 3. And this year the prize is awarded to Jennifer Simpson. The Sismy Pathology Prize. Mr. Albert Sismy, a farmer of Benwick in the Isle of Ely, who died in October 1966, I should say, shouldn't I? Left a legacy to the Chancellor, Masters and Scholars of the University of Cambridge for the use of the Cambridge School of Veterinary Medicine. The Sismy Pathology Prize is awarded to the candidate who achieved the best performance in the pathology component of the final veterinary examination Part 1. And this year the prize is awarded to Lydia Michaelides. A.C. Palmer Prize in Neurology. This prize was founded by the Queen's Veterinary School Hospital Clinical Neurology Service and the Veterinary School Trust. He honours the service to the veterinary school of the celebrated neurologist and neuropathologist Dr. Tony Palmer, and his huge contribution to the development of the discipline of veterinary neurology. He more or less founded it. It is awarded to the candidate in the final veterinary examination part 3, who obtained the highest recommendation in practical work in neurology during the final year, and good marks in the final examination in small animal studies. The winner of the prize this year is Jennifer Simpson. The Leslie Penrose Pugh Memorial Medal, and unfortunately, because of the times being what they are, we don't have the medal to give, but they will follow. This prize was founded by the Cambridge Veterinary School Trust in memory of the late Professor L.P. Pugh, the first Professor of Veterinary Clinical Studies in Cambridge, and is awarded to the candidate who has achieved the best combined performance in all of the examinations of the 4th, 5th and 6th years of the veterinary course. This year, the prize is awarded to Lydia Michaelides. The Zoetis prizes for the best elective projects. These prizes are sponsored by Zoetis and are awarded for the 4 projects that have achieved the highest marks in each of the equine, farm animal, small animal and independent research projects of the final veterinary examinations part 3. And we have an extra one as well this year. The prize for equine research project goes to Honoria Brown. I'll give you all these. The prize for the farm animal research project goes to Helen Lambias Moore. The prize for the small animal research project goes to Catherine Phillips. The prize for an independent research project goes to Katie Gibson. And the equine research project presentation prize goes to Katie Edwards. I'm now going to move on to the Andy Jeffreys Teaching and Learning Prize, sponsored by Mr. Andy Jeffreys, Emeritus University Pathologist and former Director of Teaching in the Veterinary School. This prize is awarded on the nomination of veterinary students to a member of the academic, clinical or support staff to recognise the excellence in the delivery or support of the student learning experience in any of the department's taught courses and rotations. And there's a prize, and I'm going to read out the nomination. This year the prize is won by Andre Baptista. So the embarrassing bit, Andre, no. Andre shows huge engagement with and enthusiasm for teaching. He has endless patience in explaining what we need to know during lectures and especially on rotations. He never makes us feel inadequate if we don't understand a topic, and we'll find various ways to teach a concept if we don't understand it the first time. He's exceptional at teaching the rectoning of cattle. And his explanations and direction make a great learning experience. He is great at assessing each person's ability and tailoring the session to them, taking a structured approach that makes the practical session less overwhelming. He always spends enough time teaching each individual student, especially any student who can see is struggling more than others, and never rushes us during clinical procedures. During the rectoning sessions, he encouraged us. There's a theme here, yeah. During the rectoning sessions, he encouraged us to overcome our frustration and keep trying, even when we felt like giving up. During rotations, Andre highlights important and relevant information and adapts his teaching style to students who are interested in farm animal practice and those who are more interested in other species. He engages in valuable clinical and non-clinical discussions about farm animal economics and clinical practice with students who show interest in these areas. During this tracking period, Andrew went the extra mile to organise educational field trips such as a stabiliser breed herd visit. He could easily have given a seminar in the lecture theatre about parasites, but instead... Could you? Yeah. But instead, he took us to a farm, explained various parasite control options, and taught us how to assess the environment and parasite risks. For example, looking for snails in rivers and riverbanks. That made our learning fun, interesting, and memorable. Andrew trusts us and gives us a responsibility to carry out tasks which help to instill confidence in us. Having discussed a treatment plan for a ewe with pregnancy toxemia, he delegated the job of treating the sheep to us with minimal supervision. We felt supported and guided, and at the same time responsible for our cases and more capable of performing tasks. During the tracking period, Andre allowed us to act with greater independence, for example with disbudding calves. He was always there if we needed him, but he gave us scope to practice the procedures in a way that allowed us to build confidence in our own abilities. Andre is approachable and always happy to answer questions or concerns that we have, and to act as mentor, giving advice about job interviews, practices and job applications if we're interested in farm animal veterinary careers. We appreciate his concern and care for us. He always makes time to greet and check in our well-being, shows concern over us getting wet when we have to cycle home in the rain. He's never shown it for me. And on one occasion ensured that we knew which was the best kind of pie to buy from the farm shop that we visited. These small gestures make a big difference to your day. Thank you. So we have one last prize with a slightly shorter nomination. A citation, I mean. The Cambridge Veterinary School Outstanding Student Prize. This prize is awarded annually to the student who is considered the most outstanding by their peers. This year, with stiff competition, the award has been won by Lydia Michaelides. And I will now read the citation that has been prepared by her peers. I think you should stand up and face your peers who've written this about you. Lydia is the kindest, strongest person you may ever have the chance to meet. And getting to know Lydia over the past few years has been such a joy. Her compassion for others, both human and animals alike, is unmatchable. Although if it came to a toss-up between a fellow student and a guinea pig, it is not clear who would win. If you ever need a shoulder to cry on, you come to Lydia. If you ever need someone to bake gluten-free cakes to cheer you up, you come to Lydia. If you're ever in need of some missed lecture notes, Lydia is on hand with annotated slides and the reassurance that no one would ever ask that in an exam. And yet, it is not just her genuine kindness that is outstanding. We are constantly in awe of Lydia's undying passion and motivation for her subject, which still shines through even in the toughest periods of adversity. In addition to all of this, she's encouraged a lot of people to talk more openly about mental health through her social media account. She has been incredibly open about her journey with mental health, and in doing so has normalised discussions in our year and signposted people to resources that may be of help. She has also subtly encouraged other students to approach work in a sustainable way, which, given current mental health issues in the profession, is really important. These are just some of the many reasons why we feel that Lydia should be given this award. Wow. Thank you, Mandisa. And it still feels a shame that we're not shaking hands and so on, but I think that's the way we have to do things this year. So, we've heard from our graduation speaker and the President of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, but now it is the turn of the new members of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons to respond. I have pleasure in introducing, you all know this, the representative of the newly admitted graduates, Becky Illingworth.
Hello. I want to start by thanking Claire for being a great co-year rep this year. I've really enjoyed working with you, and thank you for writing the majority of this speech. It was a good team effort, as we have showed throughout the year, although the sentiments of the speech are very much shared between us. 6 years ago, as a fresher, I remember looking at the final years, thinking how professional and wise they seemed. As I look out at all of you, I realise now that impression was not entirely correct. Still, somehow, through blood, sweat, tears, and numerous other bodily fluids, we've made it. Pink hood, level unlocked. And now I want to say a massive thank you to you all. Massive congratulations to you all. I'm sure this is not quite how you imagined your graduation to be, but it's a pleasure to be able to celebrate with all of you in person. I'm not going to lie, there have been times when I've thought to myself, is it all worth it? Times like being on my hands and knees scrubbing floors on EMS and countless nights in the library. Those MIMS and BOD practical papers, and who could forget the infamous second year exam week. But then you get those moments when you can't imagine doing anything else. Like that first time you feel the ovary on a cow. Or when your client hands you a box of chocolates, thank you for saving their dog. And you smile and think, yeah, defo all me there, my soaping was on point. I'm sure all of you have different examples of things like this, small moments that make you smile and remind us why we do what we do. Because let's face it, it's not for the salary or the excellent work-life balance. To say it's been a strange year might be an understatement. Still, we've learnt a few things that we might not have otherwise. Like how few car brands we actually recognise when looking for them in the car park. How to find our way around the vet school, blinded by masks and foggy goggles. And how some people you might have barely known before the year started will turn out to be some of the best people you could ever have wished to spend the day with. Shout out to all the rotation groups. It's been quite the 6 years. From thinking we'd never understand the terms caudal and cranial, dorsal and ventral in the first ever anatomy session, to gleefully torturing each other in the guise of home practicals. First and second year certainly made for some interesting stories. Then we arrived here at the vet school in fourth year in our freshly washed scrub tops and shiny new stethoscopes and thought to ourselves, yes, this is it now, we're starting to become real vets. Finally, there were no more medics or natskis and lectures. And through sharing rotations together, the clinical years were where we really bonded as a year group. From house crawls to pizza parties, from that first terrifying shift at the RSPCA to road trips on Equine Ambo, we've had some amazing times together. Each and every one of us have achieved so much throughout our time here. Not just the humongous achievement that is completing this degree, but also sporting achievements, with many of us representing the university in rugby, cricket, running, rowing, and too many other sports to list now. Others of you have done amazing charity work, achieved wonderful academic success, social media stardom, and we should all be so proud of ourselves. Over the course of our time here, would not have been the same without the wonderful staff. Please join me in thanking all the staff that have supported and taught us throughout these last 6 years. Supervisors, lecturers, clinicians, nurses, animal care assistants, receptionists, thank you so much for everything you've done for us. We couldn't have done it without you. A special thanks and cheer for Catherine Ayres, without whom I'm sure the vet school would cease to function. We would also like to extend a virtual thank you to all the parents, family members, friends and partners who couldn't be here today but are a massive part of our journeys through vet school. And finally, thanks to each and every one of you, not just for being great to work with, but also for being brilliant friends. I want to wish you all the best of luck for the future. No matter what it is you're going to do now, remember to stay calm, stay happy and stay in touch. It's been a pleasure to share these last 6 years with you, and I hope to see you at some reunions in the future. Still, as Claire would say, we've all got places to be.
Thank you very much, Becky. President, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the formal part of this evening. I know that you'll all want to join me in wishing the newest members of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons every success in the years to come. May I finish with a message from my colleague, Dr. Jane Dobson, who's unfortunately had to pull out at the last minute today. Jane was going to wrap up proceedings. What Jane said is, I was going to congratulate all of the, she said students, but she meant graduates, obviously, on their achievement for getting through this difficult year, and to commend you for your resilience and behaviour in the clinics, and to wish you well in your future careers, and to implore you to stay in touch with us all. So, good luck. Never forget how lucky you are to be doing such an interesting and exciting job of such real value to society. I am proud, we are all proud of you here at the Cambridge Veterinary School, and I hope that you remember this place with real affection and happiness. As soon as we've got out of the marquee, there should be some drinks on the lawn, and I hope that that you will join us all for a quick drink. Thank you all very much, and most of all, well done. That's